Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Broad Podcaster with me, Jennifer Fierro, here in the Highland Lakes, joined with our Dlugach, the voice of the Llano Yellow Jackets. As always, all right, we're going to start with Llano. I know your Yellow Jackets had a big win over Ingram, completed their undefeated season. What can you tell us about your amazing Jackets?
Ingram final was 49-6, and to give you an example of how Coach Matt Green, as I've mentioned several times on these podcasts, takes it easy in the second half. It was 49-0 at the end of two quarters. And I think there was a running clock part or all of the second half. I was not at the game because I was in Wisconsin. I can discuss more on that later. But that wrapped up a perfect regular season of 10-0 for the Jackets. That's tied for third for the best start in school history. 13 was achieved, 13-0 in 2020, and wound up 13-1. And in 1997, the Jackets were 11-0 before losing in the playoffs. So 13-11, and this year 10. And they will now meet Cotulla in the first round of the playoffs by district round, and that's on Thursday night at 7 at Hondo, a venue that the Jackets have been to before because Hondo has been in Llano's district in the past. Cotulla, fourth place in District 14, while the Jackets, as I said, number one outright champions in District 13, so it's 1 versus 4. So Llano will certainly be a heavy favorite to win that game. We'll see. So many great records established this year. The Jackets have scored just one field goal under a 40-point average for the 10 games. And as I've said already, Coach Green in the fourth quarter just refuses to put points on the board, and often in the second half he won't. So they've done those, they've accomplished the 40 points practically in the first half and some of the third quarter, and these games are just 12-minute quarters, so that is something to be impressed with, I would think. Briggs Green has thrown 22 touchdown passes, which is fourth all-time for a season for a quarterback, for a thrower. And the great thing about that is that this is primarily a running team. And there he is with 22 touchdown passes. Jackson Dillard has caught 12 of those, and that is third all-time already. Llano hopefully has several or more games to go to add to some of these great numbers. Carson Kirkendall, 1,371 yards in rushing, and I'll guarantee that plenty of those games were 3 quarters or less. And he's top 10 for a single season. Bryce Mize has converted on 49 extra points, and that is second all-time. You don't think much about the kickers obtaining these great records, but Bryce Mize certainly has done that, and he's done a real good job playing nose guard and or defensive end during the season. He has come through on 7 field goals in 9 attempts, and 7 is second for a season. 5 is the number of interceptions for Braden Hatfield and Ulysses Martinez, and that is tied for 8th all-time in 1 year. So there you go, 19 interceptions for the team for the season. 83 tackles for Hayden Manahan. He leads the team. It's just been so far an outstanding year. Llano has scored in the 50s 3 times, and that's tied for the most ever in a single year. And if they put one more point on the board after halftime against Ingram, they'd have 4 times. But of course, as I say, that is not what Coach Green likes to do. So there you go, outright champions, 3 consecutive seasons, beating out 3 fine teams in Blanco, UC Randolph, and Marion. And the shocker Somewhat a shocker, Luling beat Marion, so Marion is out of the playoffs, and Luling is in at the 4th spot. So congratulations to the Eagles for what they did. I know they're very happy about that. So now it's on to the playoffs, and we'll see if Llano can continue its winning ways for head coach Matt Green, offensive coordinator and assistant head coach Ryan Preem, and defensive coordinator Matt Anastasio, the leading coaches' names for this Jacket squad.
Well, I must say, Art, I am shocked by the Luling-Marion results because I saw the Luling game when they visited Llano a few weeks ago.
Llano won that one 51-12.
Yes, and I didn't want to say that, but that, I don't know, Luling did not look like a playoff team to me, and then Marion, of course, Marion also Llano blew out Marion too, so that might not be a fair comparison to either team.
Well, the shock was, yes, Llano beat Marion 35-7, but Marion had beaten Blanco 48-6.
Yes.
And how do you go from that to losing to Luling? A big surprise,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah. Any idea where that game was played?
Luling and Marion, no idea.
Okay. Because the only thing that I can think, you hate to say it this way, I wonder if Marion overlooked Luling and they were primed for the pickings. I don't know.
It's possible. You never can tell.
Let's go back a little bit. I know that coaches hate when we reporters compare, but when you think about that 2020 Llano team and this 2022 Llano team, what is it about the 2022 team that sticks out to you? Because I thought that 2020 team was one of the most complete teams that Matt Green has fielded in the 6 years he's been in Llano.
Well, offensively, as I mentioned, the running team, the running half of the offense has been sensational, and Briggs Green has done so well with the receivers, Sam Sultanfuss, Ross Prokop, and as I mentioned, Jackson Dillard, that it's really tough. And I'd say that you could vote for either one, maybe 2020 just by a hair. I know that we were all excited about that team, of course, winning its first 13 games and getting to the state semifinals before losing to Hallettsville. But this is a great team, too. And one more thing about Briggs's 22 touchdown passes, one fewer than his brother Maddox.
Yeah, so far.
Yes.
Well, just thinking back to that 2020 team, did they have as accurate of a place kicker as this year's 2022 team does?
I don't remember that being a big factor. I know that Case Kirkendall was on that team and was an outstanding player, running and passing.
Mm-hmm.
So you certainly can go either way on that. The best one to ask, and I'm sure that he wouldn't want it publicized really, is Matt Green or some of the other coaches.
Sure.
To see what they thought. They're much closer to the teams than we are.
Yeah.
And they might give you an idea.
Yeah, and I would hate to do a comparison. It's just that this 2022 version, there doesn't seem to be a weak spot. They seem to be too deep in just about every position. We talk about Case Kirkendall. I think Miguel Hernandez is a very capable runner.
Absolutely.
I do like the fact that they seem to have a 7 to 8 player rotation on the offensive line if they had to go that deep into it. Fortunately, seem to have been able to avoid that. I think Briggs Green has improved week after week after week at quarterback, and they seem to be deep in receiver. The thing that impresses me so much about Briggs, he seems to want to get every receiver involved. If there's a receiver out there, I don't know that he makes it a point to distribute the ball and get everybody involved, but it certainly appears that way to me, even though he has such great chemistry with Jackson Dillard.
And if he can't throw he's a tough young man running with the football and likes to run. Hasn't really done as much as I would have thought as he continues to wait for somebody to get open, but he can run fine. And so that's an extra part of the offense they have that they've not had to use a whole lot or worry about too much.
And that might be more of a credit to the offensive line and the offensive line coach for being able to run protect or run block and pass protect equally well. And it's very, very difficult to do that.
There are 6 main gentlemen on the offensive line, and Coach Richard Katner has just done a great job with them.
He's outstanding. He's done a wonderful job. Okay, you said Thursday night, 7 o'clock kickoff at Hondo, Cotulla, and Llano. Okay? We're going to close this one out. We're going to talk about the Barnett Bulldogs and the Marble Falls Mustangs. Both teams had their seasons come to an end after 11 weeks of football. In the next segment, I'm going to tell you how that happened. Please stay with us. As always, for all of your Highland Lake sports news, please go to TexasChalkTalk.com, and please make sure you like, subscribe, and share the channel.